We received the good news that Nvidia had been admitted to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, one of the 30 stocks in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And we also got surprisingly good, hot earnings from Palantir after the market on Monday. Palantir shares surge on rosy revenue outlook. Palantir boosted its full-year revenue view, surpassing Wall Street's expectations. In September, the data analytics software provider gained entry into the S&P 500 stock index. In September, S&P Global announced Palantir would join the S&P 500 stock index. Palantir's earnings per share were 10 cents adjusted versus 9 cents expected. Its revenue was $726 million versus $701 million expected. CEO Alex Karps said, "We absolutely eviscerated this quarter, driven by unrelenting AI demand that won't slow down." Palantir's revenue grew 30% year over year in the quarter. Net income of $143 million or 6 cents per share was up from $71 million or 3 cents per share in the same quarter a year ago. CEO Alex Karp said, "The growth of our business is accelerating, and our financial performance is exceeding expectations as we meet an unwavering demand for the most advanced artificial intelligence technologies from our U.S. government and commercial customers." With respect to guidance, Palantir called for fourth quarter revenue of $767 million to $771 million. Analysts surveyed had been looking for $741.4 million. Palantir bumped up its revenue range for all of 2024. It now sees $2.805 billion to $2.809 billion in revenue, compared with $2.742 billion to $2.75 billion in August. The new range implies a 26% growth rate for the year. Consensus was $2.76 billion. The company is targeting more than $687 million in U.S. commercial revenue for the year, implying about a 24% of the total. Looking at the chart, you can see that Palantir has made 141% since the beginning of the year, and that's as of the closing on Monday. They reported earnings after the market, and it went up another 10 to 15% in the aftermarket. So you could say it's up 150%, but we will see what tomorrow brings. Then NASDAQ is up a solid 21%, which is wonderful, with more left to go, assuming we get some kind of Christmas rally. And the relative strength of Palantir is 50, which indicates to me that it's underbought. To me, it's spiking up after earnings is a sign that it needs to be bought. The only hesitation is the election tomorrow. If Trump wins, he's going to have a short-term pop to the market, I believe, so I would go ahead and buy it. If Kamala wins, I got to see how that develops. I'm a little more hesitant with Kamala winning just because I don't think Wall Street is quite prepared for it. Nvidia to join Dow Jones Industrial Average, replacing rival chip maker Intel. Nvidia is replacing Intel in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, a shakeup that reflects a massive change in the semiconductor industry. Nvidia shares have gained more than 170% this year, while Intel has lost over half its value. The last change to the index came in February when fellow tech giant Amazon was added to the Dow. They will add Nvidia to the Dow Jones Industrial Average after the market on November 7th, so it's not fully part of the Dow Jones Industrial Average until November 8th. With the addition of Nvidia, 4 of the $6 trillion tech companies are now in the index, 4 of the Magnificent Seven. The 2 not in the Dow Industrial Average are Alphabet, which is Google, and Meta. Looking at the chart, Nvidia has made 174% since the beginning of the year. It joins the Dow Jones Industrial Average on November 8th, but I don't expect big things from it being added. It will help a little. The thing about being added to the Dow Jones Industrial Average being one of 30 is that by the time you get to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you're such a major company that's already well known. And so it helps somewhat, but I don't think we get big movement with Nvidia until it reports earnings, which will be towards the end. It's the very last Magnificent Seven to report, and it reports towards the end of the quarter. So I don't expect big movement until then. For the last month, it's been hanging around the 130s. So basically, I plan to add more to it according to its price movements, depending on how it reacts to the election. So I'm hanging out until the end of the election to see if I'm going to add to it. Nvidia, to me, seems a little bit underbought. At least it's not overbought, as its relative strength is only 54. The main thing affecting stocks right now, of course, is the election and how soon it will be settled. The worst outcome of all will be as if there is no clear winner. And so I want to urge everyone to vote. Hopefully we'll get a clear winner. And the headlines are Wall Street shuns risk before a coin toss election. The polls are showing them at 49% apiece. And when you throw Robert Kennedy Jr. in the race, that actually favors Harris. He seems to take more votes from Trump than he does from Kamala. So I think we could get a big surprise with this election. The most interesting outcome would be if there's a Democratic sweep. I don't know how Wall Street would handle that because they're not expecting that at all. A positive outcome will be if it's mixed, that whoever wins the White House, at least one of the houses of Congress, is controlled by the opposite party. That's actually kind of a positive event because it will slow down the massive spending each one of them is proposing, with Trump proposing more spending than Kamala. If we get a clear winner after the election and we get it quickly, that will be positive for the market, as the Federal Reserve is expected to cut interest rates by 1/4 of a point on Thursday.